All right, everyone. Welcome into another episode of Debate Night. Today, we have a new cast member joining us. Very exciting. Cast today, we've got Brodie back yet again, looking for his first dub. We've got new cast member Steven joining us today. We've got returning Anthony and also Cory as well. So we've got new cast members, some returning cast members. Should be a great show. We have a lot to talk about, including something that dropped just today as of when we're filming this, the Gannon Buhr news. So I kind of threw that on everybody. We'll see how much everybody has been able to do researching that. There's not much to research at this point, mostly speculation. Before we get into the rest of the video, I have a quick word from the sponsor of today's show, Aura. Anyone can find anything on the internet. That includes your full legal name, your personal email, your home address, your phone number, even your relatives. This information is accessible because of data brokers who profit by selling your information to robocallers, telemarketers, spammers, and anyone else that wants to learn about you. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura will identify data brokers that are exposing your information and automatically submit opt-out requests on your behalf. They'll even opt you out of junk mail and telemarketing lists. You can use my link, aura.com/foundationdiscgolf to try 2 weeks for free and see how many data brokers are sharing your information. It's also linked in the description, and you can scan the QR code on the screen. Aura also monitors your emails and passwords to see if they were involved in a data breach and exposed to the dark web, and gives you recommendations on what to do. Aura's app also features a VPN, a password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, internet parental controls, and protects your devices from malware. Aura has almost every internet safety tool you'll ever need all inside one app. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with my link. You'll be shocked at how much of your private information Aura finds exposed over those 2 weeks. So go to aura.com/foundationdiscgolf, click the link in the description, or scan the QR code here on the screen to start your free trial. Let's head back into the show. Without further ado, let's go ahead and we're going to jump into our first topic. The All-Star Weekend is quickly approaching us. The disc golf season is just about back with the All-Star event. The teams were drafted, and interesting draft, pretty even teams in my opinion, but a lot of people have been pitting them back and forth. So Paul and Rick each drafted a team for MPO. A lot of people debating, who's got the better team. So that's what I want to ask each of you is who has the stronger team, Paul or Rick? Brodie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this topic, when I was trying to figure out who the teams were, there's really not much info about it. You have to really kind of dig. I went to their, the Pro Tour's Instagram and saw that I was on some random fantasy football roster when I was trying to do this research. So with that being said, I mean, we'll see what happens, but this is what I found out. Okay, you got Team Ricky, Team Paul. Both of them had no idea what they were doing. It seemed like kind of with the snake draft, which is also why are we doing a snake draft with two people, and there's only 10 people to choose from? What are we doing? The average ranking for Ricky 7.8. The average ranking for Paul's guys are 9.1. Pretty close there. Hunter would argue otherwise, but I think it is pretty close. Now, it's going to come down to really the singles. The singles, you get 6 points possible. Doubles, there's going to be 3 points on the board, and then there's a point for each of the skills challenge: putting, accuracy, and distance. I think singles and doubles is a wash, so let's just go straight into each skills. I got Ricky doing the putting. He's going to probably win because Chris Dickerson has the lowest C1X at 85% and the lowest C2 at 24%, while Gannon has the highest at 89 and 37. I've got Paul winning the accuracy because 2 shots will require either a grenade or an overhand shot. So I don't like that on the option of Matteo and James Conrad. I think those are 2 people that probably don't have that shot. Last, I'm going distance. That's a complete toss-up. Who knows? It's going to boil down to, are they throwing it on an island this year? Are they throwing it from on top of a building? We have no idea. I'm going to say Paul wins the thing.
All right, Steven, you're looking at the rosters. What are your first impressions?
Yeah, first off, I want to say the Pro Tour needs to step up their game. This draft was laughable. Find somebody other than Terry who's in Thailand and can't get his audio to sync with everybody to do the draft, right? Also, you got to prepare your captains. Rick and Paul. Paul was much better prepared, and that's the basis for my argument. His team was well thought out. He knew where to put people, how to place people, what the points were. He knew it all. Rick was lost. So, first of all, big points to Paul on that. In the putting, if you're Rick, how do you not put last year's single putting champion, James Conrad, into the putting category? What are you doing? That being said, Ricky and Gannon is obviously a great combination for putting. but Ricky should have pit himself against Paul in accuracy. Go up against each other. He knew where Paul was at before he placed himself. Make that happen, because I want to see it as a fan. That being said, accuracy, I got to give the edge to Paul. I think Brodie's right. Putting, the edge goes to Ricky's team. And then with the distance, Calvin won this event last year because of his controlled distance. Him and Ezra Aderhold won because of their ability to keep it in the fairway. Calvin's in that spot again for Paul's team. He's going to take the edge down. And overall, Paul's team with Joel Freeman and the accuracy, Joel Freeman is Mr. Consistent. They're going to make it happen. Paul's team for the win.
Okay, Paul's team. Anthony, do you agree?
Yeah, I think unless Cory says something different, Ricky's going to have to come out and kind of surprise all of us, because I think so far we're all on the same page. I think Paul's going to take down the win. It's obviously hard when you have a draft and the all-star team. Everyone are phenomenal players. It was definitely interesting seeing them not quite understand what was going on in the draft and what even the events were. Like, they were like, oh, are there 3 events? I'm not, like, that was a little embarrassing to just watch that happen. But I kind of have a different thought as to why I think Paul is definitely going to win, and that's kind of going to be focus and time with your discs. Everything that they said was completely accurate, but we have Simon, who's just learning a new bag, and he's been documenting that whole process. We've seen that. And now we have Gannon on Ricky's team. I had this point written down for Simon already, and then Gannon comes out today and says, bye-bye, Prodigy. We don't even know where he's going to be or if he's going to announce by the All-Stars. He probably will, but how much time is he going to have in the Iowa cold with those discs to actually learn them? Who knows? So that's kind of a big wild card to see for the end here. I definitely think that in all 3 of the categories, Paul kind of edges in terms of everything except for putting, where you have Ricky and Gannon, who are just top-class putters. Gannon, it'll be interesting to see. Is he still going to be putting with those PA3s, or is he going to have something else in his bag that makes him a little less confident on the green? We're not 100% sure, but I think Paul taking down at least the distance and accuracy/skills challenge, I think that you can probably point to those as being where they're going to be able to take the edge if they can't also take putting because of some inconsistencies with the new bag with Gannon.
Yeah, Gannon's certainly going to be a wild card in this event, and we're just interested to see what he even walks out with. Cory, what are your thoughts?
So I'm going to take Team Ricky on this one. I'm just going solely off of skills. You got Ricky and Gannon putting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jomez Pro, but they have a next up, you have Simon and Kyle for distance. They are literally called Crush Boys. That's like having Fulton Reed and Dean Portman on the same team. And I don't know if you know who that is, but those are the Bash brothers from the Mighty Ducks. Like, game over. You win. Next up, last but not least, you have James Conrad and Matty O. Those are accuracy. James against Paul, I mean, that's Paul's kryptonite. The holy shot. I mean, come on. And then as long as Matty O's glasses fall off, he can kind of hit any mark. That's kind of what I'm seeing. So as long as his glasses fall off, he's golden. So I'm going to take Ricky on this one.
All right. I mean, any Mighty Ducks reference is a way to my heart. That's for sure. Yeah, I've heard.
Quack, quack.
That's right. I've heard a lot of back and forth on this, but it'll be, like Brodie was saying, the teams are pretty even, so we'll see how it all plays out with the events. Little points update before we hop into our next segment. We've got Brodie, Steven, and Anthony tied at 4. Cory at 5. The Mighty Ducks reference is too strong, too overpowered. Heading into our next topic. So this was something that was announced, kind of one of the sneaky Pro Tour, like we just hit it in our articles, but it's really important things. They're basically offering first round of live coverage free instead of the last round this year, which is a pretty big deal. So is this a good move, and is this the correct strategy to gain live viewers moving forward? Steven, what do you think?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to jump in and just say that, first of all, I love this move for the Pro Tour. I think this was extremely smart on their part. For me, watching them give up the last round, the most important round for free, made me feel as a paying subscriber, like, what am I doing? Why am I even paying for this? I'll watch post-produce, and then I'll jump in and watch the live for free later. As a paying subscriber, this makes me feel better about it. Also, it's going to bring in all of those people that were mooching off the live event at the very end. And so DGN is the way that Disc Golf Pro Tour makes money. If they can convert those viewers that they were pulling in on YouTube to paying subscribers because they want to experience the magic of live sports, that's only going to benefit them in the long run and ultimately create long-lasting subscribers for them.
Yeah, Anthony, is this a good move for the Pro Tour?
Maybe, but it's a sucky move for me, and I'll explain that in a second. But personally, I don't like this move, but I do think it's a phenomenal move for the Pro Tour. Probably going to be adding a lot more live viewers going forward, but there's going to be a couple things that they really need to do in order to capitalize on first-round coverage being live on YouTube instead of the last-round coverage. Because the last-round coverage, you really don't have all the storylines that are unfolding. You're not really able to build up some up-and-coming talent or things that might be happening in the first couple, 2 or 3 rounds, depending on the different tournaments. And so there's some exposure for some players who don't always make it to the final league card because maybe they had 1 round pop off that they won't be getting or that they weren't getting, and now they'll be able to get that with the first round. But a couple things that the Pro Tour really needs to make happen with the coverage, and one of the reasons why I don't like this move, just very selfishly, is because the YouTube viewing experience compared to the DGM viewing experience is far superior. So even though I was a paying subscriber, I would watch the first couple of rounds, and then I would get to the final day, and I would go and watch it on DGN, and then I'd realize, wait, this is the final day. I can go watch it over on YouTube. And so I think a couple things that need to happen are, one, they need to really dial in the storylines and have their front foot forward for the commentation for the first day, just to make sure that people would want to come back for future days. Because if the commentators aren't doing a good job or they're not really able to bring storylines together, they're not going to be able to pull viewers for the next couple days after that first tournament. And obviously, they need a call to action at the end of that, like any good piece of media. And then the second thing is they really need to start to somewhat rival some of the features that you can get on YouTube when you watch that final day coverage. Because personally, I would watch any coverage on YouTube just because of the live streaming features. And that's something that I think that the Pro Tour will grow into, and they understand some of those limitations. But that's one of the reasons why I just preferred watching it on the final day personally. But I do think it's a good move to adding those viewers if they make those right steps.
Yeah, very good points. Cory, what are you thinking about all this?
I think first round makes the most sense. It gets people invested, and then they're going to want to pay if they really want to watch this. Also, last round doesn't actually, like, it's not like you can buy Netflix and be like, hey, you get to pay for Netflix, and then December it's free on us. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then also, when it's the first round, you get the chance of seeing everyone like going straight out of the gate because everyone's on a level playing field. So you're going to see some moves on some people, whether it's the lead card or any other card, trying to make it as good as possible. And that's why I think first round is the best. And then also, I'd like to play this card on Brodie so that he doesn't get a try on this one.
So like a Rip Revenge card, as those are my nemesis.
Yeah,
well, it's an Uno, but yeah.
Brodie's history with Rip lately not been great. All right, Brodie. So I know you have some takes about this coverage thing, but so let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is they've got a lot more information than we do, and they obviously have a few people on their staff that they're probably paying decent amount of money to make these decisions. I've always been under the, I think every round should be behind a paywall, but you should give away a little bit at the beginning. So whether it's 15, 30, maybe an hour, give it away and then paywall. Do that all 4 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever it may be. I thought that was maybe the right move. They obviously went with switching the final day to the first day. Couple issues with that. The first one is we all understand that people are less likely to tune into an event at the first round versus the final round, whether that is a sporting event with tennis or basketball or whatever. People are always going to tune in to the final day more than the first. Also, the first day is going to be during the week, which I think is going to get less numbers. But I think this is the big thing here is this is the DGN saying we're valuing live coverage and we're valuing behind the paywall more than anything. And so they're willing to take a hit in live numbers because they are. They're going to get way less people to view the full tournament behind the paywall. So they're willing to take a hit, but to increase their DGN subscribers. Will that pay out in the long run? We'll find out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The golf model that you can't really do in disc golf yet, I like, where a lot of times it's like they'll do an ESPN Plus, and then once the leaders tee off, that's when it would go. Like,
yeah, so only the first hour, an hour and a half.
Right. So that's obviously not really possible the way they do coverage right now, where they're not really showing anybody until, further down the cards.
Can
Go
I add
ahead.
one thing?
Yes.
I think this also puts a lot of stress on those feature cards. I think when the tournament kind of fits itself to where now you have the leaders, now that those feature cards are going to be huge because that's what you're going to be showing the majority of the people out there.
Yeah. It'll be something that evolves. I mean, I think you all are in agreement. They certainly are really putting their foot down on live viewership here. Like this is a double down move for them, and we'll see how it pays off and how the public receives it. Speaking about disc golf coverage, we'll do a quick points update. We've got Brodie at 8 points, Steven and Anthony tied at 7, and Cory at 6. But speaking about disc golf coverage, the DGPT Championship recently aired on ESPN2. The one from last season. You may not even know that because it's not like it was blasted out too aggressively. You know, we saw some Instagram posts about it, but you know, I feel like when disc golf first went on ESPN, it was like everybody was talking about it everywhere, but it happened. So my question is, you know, we've seen a pretty similar format with these broadcasts. So are these one-off broadcasts actually moving the sport forward in their current format? Should the Pro Tour be displaying the sport differently or drop the broadcast altogether? Or is it good just how it is? Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, Trevor, I think that even in the way that you framed the question before you got specifically to the question was in, oh, they didn't even really blast it out. And I think that that kind of shows where maybe even the DGN thinks about this in their overall strategy. And that's why, to borrow from a later and different segment that we always do, I would hold on it. I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's good to continue to build that partnership, especially with ESPN, because they do have a large syndication. But the way that they're doing it right now, frankly, I don't think is moving the sport forward or backwards. I think that if they wanted to use this to move the sport forward in a significant way, people who aren't currently paying for DGN but are in the general disc golf population, if they were to market to them, hey, this is going to be on ESPN, I think the viewership numbers for that would grow relatively significantly because it's a DGN paywalled product that they chopped up and put into something that probably more people have access to because most people who watch disc golf don't only watch disc golf in terms of media. I would also say that this move to just do the ESPN broadcast is more likely than not mostly to bring in outside sponsorships from disc golf because ESPN is a reputable name much more than the Disc Golf Network is. And so the more viewership that they can get there and the more syndication that they can get on ESPN, the more ability they'll have to bring in like feature sponsors like Barbasol, who was the feature sponsor of the event that was covered. But I think that they'll have to probably transition the way that they do it if they want to use it to grow disc golf, which they have a lot of information, just like Brodie had alluded to in the last question, and they might see that this is a good way to just be an overall part of their plan as a small part and not the main thing that's going to thrust disc golf forward, because it doesn't seem like the way that they pushed it out, me being in disc golf and barely knowing about it, I don't think that it's something that they're really looking at as the main way to move disc golf forward right now.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track there, Cory. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, and all broadcasting is good broadcasting, but it's only good broadcasting if you know about it. I know I'm not the only one in the boat where I didn't even know that it happened a week ago. I don't have ESPN2. I don't have cable for that matter. So how am I supposed to watch something when it's? I mean, most things are on streaming. I have every other thing except for cable, and I didn't know that ESPN was doing that. It would be easier if you had someone like Jomez or Gatekeeper actually posting about, hey, this is going to be live on this at this time. Besides for that, I mean, broadcasting anything is good. I mean, look at 30 seconds at the Super Bowl is going to make you X amount of money, and yet, I mean, do you really remember every single commercial? No. But the people that did tune in and the people that saw that specific commercial, they're going to remember it, especially the funny ones. Too bad we don't have that many funny ones anymore. It's not like we have the Budweiser horses and all those weird, dirty jokes like we did in the past. But it would be a good thing for ESPN2 to kind of pick up more disc golf because it is growing. It is becoming its own sport. It's not golf. It's not anything else. And I know a lot of people that like to watch it because it's just very different.
Yeah. Moving on to Brodie here. Brodie, do you think the ESPN broadcast is just dead weight at this point, or does it serve a purpose?
Well, I'll answer Cory's question. You weren't supposed to watch it, Cory. You don't have ESPN. They're not marketing to you. That you're not in their market. Also, why the heck is the Disc Golf Pro Tour trying to get people that have already seen this event to watch the event again? This thing is not for disc golfers. Okay, let's be very frank. They are rebroadcasting something that has already happened months ago. This is not for people that watch actually disc golf. This is to try to get new viewers in, and is also to potentially build a relationship stronger with ESPN to maybe at some point put a live broadcast on ESPN. Just to give you some numbers, 123,000 people tuned in at some point. Who knows what that even means? That was the fourth most watched thing on ESPN2. I think that's the big thing. 123, not that big of a number, but it's the fourth most watched program that day on ESPN2. I think ESPN2 is looking at that like, all right, if we have a time slot, we can put disc golf there. This was marketed for people that either have ESPN2 on at the barbershop or on their sports store or wherever. This is for people that are just scrolling through the channels. You got to remember too, disc golf is a sport that the people that watch disc golf play disc golf. There are very few people that are tuning into disc golf that have never thrown a disc, didn't play in the past. This is a playing sport. So to have it randomly on, we're trying to capture people to see it for the first time, for them to go out and try it, and then all of a sudden fall in love with the sport like we all did. That's the goal here. I think it's a good play.
Steven, wrap it up for us. Do you see the value?
I absolutely see the value in it. What they did this time around, I think, is great. This is a great opportunity for them to market to outside sponsors like Barbasol. You go to them and you say, we are putting broadcasts on ESPN2. We are putting broadcasts on in front of 123,000 people with your branding. That's huge for them to be able to go to them and pull those kinds of funds in and bump up those numbers as far as the money that they're able to put into the marketing so that they can ultimately market to outside people that they want to bring into the sport. If the Pro Tour ever wants to move up in the public eye of being a legitimate sport and being up on those next levels, they have to get in bed with somebody that is a worldwide leader in sports. ESPN is a great tool for them. If they can make the move to ultimately sell the rights to DGN in the future to ESPN Plus, if you look at now, again, this is completely different, but the WWE had the WWE Network. They sold it to Peacock for $1 billion. Right? You build your base, you sell it off to an ESPN Plus streaming service, your subscribers become their subscribers, and now your sport is in the market for all of those viewers.
Yeah. I like that, Steven. I think you're right. And I think there's something to be said. Anthony, you kind of touched on it too. Just building that relationship is important, because at the end of the day, ESPN has that influence. Everybody respects the name ESPN quite a bit. And it is interesting, Brodie, you mentioned being the fourth most watched thing on ESPN too. That is something that's nothing to scoff at. That's pretty impressive. I think that the ESPN Plus play could be something in the future, but I kind of agree right now. It's kind of a hold play where it's like, it's there, it's doing something, and it's one of those things you just don't turn down as the Pro Tour, because it's a good opportunity. All right, quick points update. We have Brodie at 13, Steven and Anthony tied at 11, and Cory at 8. Heading into our next topic here. Ultiworld has been doing these fandom surveys for a while now. Some of them, seem to be like, oh, that's an interesting information. Others not super surprising. This one was interesting. A recent fandom survey on Nico Locastro reveals that he is disliked by a strong majority of disc golf fans. I expected him to be more polarizing, like a lot of people that loved him, a lot of people that disliked him. It was kind of one-sided, which, maybe that's not shocking to some. So my question is, does disc golf not really have the climate for a villain character, or is Nico just not doing the villain role correctly? Or is he not a villain at all? Cory, what do you think?
Me personally, I don't really consider Nico a villain. I would consider him, what do you consider the guy who gets mad at Monopoly and flips the table and walks off? I wouldn't really consider him a villain. I would consider him like a poor sport. I don't think disc golf it's too laid back to have. You thought that was funny, Brodie?
That was good. That was a good one.
Disc golf is a little too laid back to have like an actual proper villain. And me being very close to Detroit, we had the Pistons and the Red Wings both had the Bad Boys, the Russian Five. Those were real villains. I think if a villain were to be in disc golf, it would be someone who played too closely by the rules so that they can call someone on anything that they can find and kind of jostle and mess up everyone else's mindset. Taking advantage of the rules would definitely make someone a villain. And I do not think Nico is a villain.
Okay, so not a villain. Brodie, do you concur?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm kind of confused. First off, you say strong majority of disc golf fans. I think you got to say strong majority of disc golf fans that took this survey.
True.
You read the numbers, and it's what, less than 1,000 people or something, I think, ended up voting on this. And we were just talking about hundreds of thousands of people watching, Joe Mez videos. But that being said, I do think there is this narrative with Nico. Now, the other thing that I'm a little confused about too is, to be a villain, you have to be disliked. Like, people, I've never heard anyone say like, oh, I like that person because they're the villain. Like, you like that person because they have certain attributes to them that it annoys other people. For example, like Conor McGregor. Like, when I look at Conor McGregor and fighting, like back in his peak, now again, he's a perfect example. Back when Conor first came out, I'm going to actually say Conor and Nico might be more similar than different. Back when Conor first came out, his like arrogance and his like cockiness and backing it up, I loved all that. Then he kind of like, I don't know what happened, but he kind of flipped a switch. And so now, like, the people that still like Conor, I think, are just kind of delusional to the fact of what he's been doing. I think Nico's in the same point of where, like, when he first came out, I think it worked for him. But then he's had a couple of these instances where, I mean, you just can't yell at referees. You can't like get into an official's face. I think he's like, if he would have dialed it down or like did a couple things differently, I think he would have been perfectly on that fine line. I think pure Nico, like pure, if you want to say cocaine Nico, if you will, was Waco. The Waco pre-interview, like pre-tournament interview, where he was basically just like yelling at the haters and telling them to come after him. That was money. The problem is when you start going into some of these other situations, I think people like, who's that? Cory. I think he nailed it in the fact of like, no one really likes rooting for a poor sport.
Yeah. All right. Steven, what do you think about Nico?
Okay, I'm gonna definitely be the minority here. I love Nico. I absolutely love Nico. I may not agree with all his personal views in the world, but I absolutely love him. He is outspoken. He has a fierce competitive spirit. He knows it and he embraces it, right? He is the guy that everybody loves to hate. And that brings in views. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. Drama brings in views. Look at the most ridiculous shows on television. They're all about drama. And while Nico definitely has the drama, that's who he is. He is that guy. And so I don't necessarily think I think Cory's right. There are certain circumstances where he is a poor sport, right? But he is still the guy that is going to tell it like it is. He is not afraid of what other people think of him, and that makes him dangerous. He is still a world-class disc golfer. He is going to show it this year, and he's going to put on a show, and he better be on the feature card at Las Vegas because we all need that.
Dang, we got a Nico super fan in the house. Anthony, could you share those feelings?
Definitely not the super fandom. I do share the feelings that we should see him on the feature card at Las Vegas. To answer the question about the villain, though, I think like framing it as a villain is an interesting thing to think about in sports. If you think about it more as like a heel, which is more typically like how you think about something in sports, I think that there is a place for that within disc golf. I don't know if Nico 100% fills that role. I came into disc golf January of last year, and so I have never, and I got dove headfirst in. And all I've seen from Nico, except for going back at the history and seeing some like the crazy albatrosses and all the cool things that he did back in the day, I see last year he got 2 4th places at Silver Series, which Hunter doesn't even think are real tournaments. And then he got like top 13, and he got like a 16th and a 13th place. And like he wasn't really competing at like top 10s, top 5s. And to have a real true heel character, you need someone who has similar views, has good outbursts. I don't think outbursts are bad as long as they're done in the not most unsporting way, like kind of happened at European Open. But I think that to have someone who is a heel in disc golf, they should be competitive. Like if a Ricky or a Paul were to like kind of make a little bit of like a dark Paul or dark Ricky turn, I think that that'd be a really interesting thing to see. I don't think though that right now, the culture of disc golf 100% wants that to happen. It kind of is a culture where niceties are respected in a lot of ways. Everyone likes conviviality. Like, they want to all get along. I don't necessarily think that that's how it'll be forever, especially as more money gets into things. And I think that that would be a welcome and a good change, especially for someone who just came into the sport. But I know a lot of old heads might not agree with that, who've been here for a while and like the way that it was. So I don't think that we're ready yet. I think in a couple years we will be. But I do think that if Nico comes out this year and crushes, I think that he'll be definitely in that position.
Yeah, give me a second, Brodie. I see you.
No, I'm punching my more time button.
Yeah,
New feature.
Yeah. I think that the big point there, like you mentioned, Anthony, is and this is kind of what I was getting at with this question is, regardless of if he fits the villain role or not, is that even something that the disc golf audience as it is now even really wants? And it seems like the vast majority, from what I've heard and experienced in disc golf, the answer is no. There are a lot of people who do, like Steven, they understand, like, content is content at the end of the day, to a point. But Brodie, you were shaking your head at one point there.
It's all Steven.
I think the first thing is, to be a heel, you have to know you're the heel. I don't think Nico knows he's the heel. Like, and then also to disagree with Steven about him saying, like, this is who Nico is, this is him. I think he just made a post like recently talking about how he's changed and how, like, going into this next season he's gonna be a new man and all this stuff. So, like, that's the other thing is, like, you have to, if you want to embrace it, just embrace it. But then if you start doing this weird thing, which, let's be honest, a lot of people on tour do it, where they have this, they put this face on when they step on the course, and then they're this person, and then when they walk off the course, they pull the face off. That's, like, to me, I don't want to see that. So if Nico just wants to embrace it. To me, though, I also agree with Cory. Just cut out, like, the unsportsmanlike things, like speed up your putting situation. There's, like, small things that you can just fix, and then I'm fine. I have no problem with Nico at all. But if you're the heel, you're the heel, and I don't think Nico knows he's the heel.
See, I think Nico knows he's been pitted as it, but I don't think he embraces it. So, Steven, are you prepared for good guy Nico?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think that Nico is a person that embraces who he is. And so if he has made a change, I think people can change. And if he's made that change and he embraces it, but he's still a fierce competitor, I'm all in for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
I mean, that's just who it is.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out this season. We'll see what happens. Everybody's going to be watching him under a microscope. So it's certainly going to be fascinating. All right, quick points update before heading into our last main topic. We got Brodie at 16, Steven at 13, Anthony at 15, and Cory at 12. Heading into the
wait.
Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
This guy's got all these Uno cards ready to rock. So this is the main.
Those are the only two.
Oh, well, that could hurt you later.
I know.
The main event tonight, Gannon Buhr, this morning, drops the bomb, announces that he's leaving Prodigy. No new sponsor as of now. I'm sure, like, the second we hang up this call, we'll announce it if that's my luck. But it kind of was a shock. Prodigy had already kind of posted that he was going to be on the core team this year. It seemed like everything had kind of settled. We were getting so close to the season that we figured everything was over with. Gannon Buhr stirs it right back up. So the question is, where is Gannon headed, and why did he leave Brodie Smith?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little disappointed in Gannon. I thought he would have waited a few more hours to make sure that you guys weren't going to be able to cover it on Grip Lock this week. But I mean, I think the obvious answer that's pointing is Discmania. I think the $1 million that they got from the buyout with Simon makes it clear for them to be able to have a play at. Oh my gosh. Have a play at. Sorry, my dogs are it's feeding time right now, so they're going nuts. But have a play at Gannon. I think also it was kind of clear that Gannon was thinking about potentially moving or potentially opening his mind to moving with some conversations and stuff I saw on social media from him. But I think the play for him is probably Discmania. I think they probably gave him a pretty good offer. And I think this all happened because I don't know if Simon really knew he was leaving. So I think a lot of stuff was kind of happening. And then once Simon was like, I'm out, I think that opened the door and they snuck in and got him away from Prodigy.
Okay. Steven, is Gannon going to reinvent his game?
I'm going to have to say that I think he made a mistake, at least for now. You know, I know he wants the bag. The dude is making a ton of money on the tour right now with his consistent wins, or not wins, I should say. He had the one big win at USDGC, but he's consistently in the top. He made a ton of money this year, and he's going to continue to make that money. Continue to hone your craft and build your base of fans with a sponsor that you're still under contract with. Show that loyalty so that when you do go get the bag with another company, they're not going to be scared that you're going to up and leave them for an MVP or a Latitude or a Discraft later. That being said, he left. So where's he going? Discmania, I think, is obviously the right call according to everybody on the internet. Do I think Latitude can make a play for him? Potentially. It all comes down to who made the move first during the season last season, because it happened last season. As soon as Simon had a thought of leaving, Discmania was looking for someone, and that person is Gannon.
Yeah, I mean, interesting take. There's something to be said, the whole loyalty thing versus getting that bag whenever you have the chance. Anthony, what do you think about the whole thing?
Yeah, I think it's definitely it was interesting watching Gannon make some media appearances recently. He went on the Nick and Matt show, and he didn't expect to be on it, but he was on. I think it was with Isaac Robinson and Alden Harris, and they were all together. And you could hear, like, he was talking about other companies, Franklin Discs, not quite another company, Corollary, but he was talking about, oh, this disc is cool. So you can't really be thinking about that if you're thinking I'm all in Prodigy and talking about that on a show that a lot of people are listening to. On top of that, he was kind of complaining in that interview a little bit, or not complaining, just voicing the reality that he's on the contract that he was on his rookie season. Like, he's been on that contract for 2 years. So, like, having these 2 seasons, I definitely don't think that doesn't show loyalty. He's been with them for 6 years. Like, he's been with them forever. It's not like he's disloyal from that. And last year, I mean, $86,973 is what he made on tour. I'm not sure if that's making a killing. Like, that's, especially touring. Like, you're traveling full time, that's probably covering a $40,000, $50,000 a year income outside of maybe what you'd have to spend on the tour. And on a rookie contract, which I don't know a lot about disc golf contracts yet. I haven't had those conversations with people, but it seems like rookie contracts are in the realm of like 20 to 50 grand, whereas a lot of other people are making 6-figure contracts, and he's a USDGC champion with a lot of upside potential. I could definitely see that $1 million buyout going straight into his pocket with potentially a lot more down the road, because I think that he has a lot of marketability, that he's a little untapped because he's not been in the media or in the spotlight for a crazy long time, and now he's one of the generational players potentially. If they give him a little bit of media training, help him a little bit on socials, or Discmania or whoever picks him up. I also could see Latitude, because I liked Latitude, and I think they have all that hedge fund money, so they might be able to pick him up if they really wanted to. But I think that money going outside of MVP's pockets and straight into Gannon's is definitely a viable scenario to get him on the next big contract in disc golf. Not quite as big as Paul or Ricky, but definitely up there.
Yeah, definitely. Rookie contracts, nothing to write home about. That's normally the case. Cory, should Gannon have gotten the bag, or what's the deal?
Well, luckily for me, I have someone on the inside, someone that knows all the answers. And besides for his age, him being super young, the other thing you think of when you think of Gannon Buhr is he's lanky. And lanky, wingspan, albatross, the night owl, he's going to Franklin. Those are the only 2 discs that anyone knows from Franklin. I would know. I have someone on the inside. No, but in all honesty, he's easily going to Discmania. Or I have a theory.
Ooh.
He likes to play tricks. He did that whole thing where he said, I'm going somewhere, and he had the blank thing, and it ended up being Double G Jerky. What if he leaves Prodigy to get signed by Prodigy?
Listen, it crossed my mind.
That would be a disc golf move for sure.
That's
the most disc golf move I've ever heard.
That would be a Gannon move for sure.
I can't lie to you. It crossed my mind earlier today. Like, I know Prodigy just did a rebrand, and I was like, what if Prodigy it was their whole idea to just say that
a core team.
He's just
sponsored by Airborne Disc Golf.
They make a new team for him.
That's why he's still on the website.
Yeah,
Well, he's going to be going as Gannon Burley, and he's going to have chest hair coming out of his shirt, and that's his new thing.
Oh man!
I will say, I think he is going to collect a pretty good paycheck. I mean, he made 86 grand, like you mentioned. just from event winnings last year, which is a really good amount to when he was one of the highest earners just on tour. But I can tell you that whatever rookie deal he was on was paying a very small fraction of that. So with a player who's making that much money just with their finishing place and has a bit of marketability, just being, you know, a young player in the spotlight, I think he's set up for quite a big contract. And we're going to see, you know, one thing that's interesting is we've seen, you know, Paul and Ricky and Simon, guys nearing or at 30 years old, get those big contracts. This is a teenager we're talking about to be potentially like a disc golf millionaire teenager. You know, we're in that kind of stage, and that's going to be just an interesting thing for him to navigate as a person. So exciting times, no doubt about that. One final points update here. We heading into our elimination round now. We've got Brodie at 19, Steven at 16, Anthony at 22, and Cory at 15, which means that Anthony and Brodie are heading into our rapid fire round, which is sponsored by Birdie Coin today. If you have never checked out Birdie Coin, if you shop at foundationdisc.com, you can basically sign up for free. It is our rewards program. There's a bunch of things you can do, like liking our Facebook page that earn you coins, but then you can also get coins with each purchase, and those coins can then be redeemed for money off of your next disc. So it's a really cool program. It's very free. So if you never signed up for Birdie Coin, make sure to check it out. Rapid fire round. Here we go. Let's do it.
I was so close this time.
All right. So we've got Brodie and Anthony. Brodie's at a 3-point deficit right now. 3 subjects. The first one we're going to do is a buy, sell, or hold. And then we have 2 that are not in that format. So let's start with Anthony in the lead. Buy, sell, or hold stock in the All-Star event since it is happening this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, I am buying stock in the All-Star event, but there are only 2 conditions that I'm buying it under, 2 different scenarios. I think that we just have to look at how the distance competition just went down, all the coverage, all the positive press. People want to see the people at the top of this game do really cool things with discs. And so the All-Star event gives them another opportunity to do that, where under a little bit less pressure than normal, with a little more opportunity playing doubles, to be able to run some stupid things, they're able to do a lot more fun things in the All-Star events. But the 2 conditions that I'm buying under are, 1, I'm kind of buying on spec, so I'm staying very diversified. I'm not going all in on the All-Star event because I don't think that right now it's positioned in the correct place or time in the season. Having it be the first thing before a big event, it just feels a little weird. Like I've been seeing all this coverage come out from GK Pro and some other companies about a bunch of like smaller tournaments, and that's getting me excited for real tournaments or like the Elite Series, and then the All-Star event comes in. The second way that I'm buying is in a similar vein, is I'm buying a controlling stake so that I can start to make some decisions and moving it to a different time during the season so that we can see more storylines that unfold during the season come to fruition in the All-Star event for who are the All-Stars this year so far before we get into the playoffs.
Okay, Brodie, buy, sell, or hold?
Well, my chances of winning this are very slim, so I just want to first off get a happy Valentine's Day to everyone watching this. Make sure you buy some flowers for your special ladies in your life. But I will say, if we're doing the buy, sell, hold right now, I mean, you got to sell. I mean, no one's really interested in this thing. The 2 captains, one of them was clearly not really he wasn't clearly interested enough and like figure out what was going on. The actual like draft itself didn't seem that great. Last year, there was a lot of things that didn't go that well. And it seems like I thought the skills, like the accuracy thing was a terrible challenge last year. And it looks like they've just doubled down. They're going to do the same thing this year where they're going to see who can throw a roller the closest to a target. We'll see what ends up happening. I think as of right now, you got to sell it. Like, I don't think it's going to do anything crazy. I think also if it was at a different time in the year, the hype for it would be even less than what it would be right now because people just are dying for disc golf. But with that being said, I think there could be, like Anthony said, there could be a lot of things that could be changed to where this could be a really cool event down the road. I just don't think it's going to happen this year.
Okay. Well, Anthony buying, Brodie selling. On to our next topic. Brodie, you can lead off here. Should the Pro Tour be targeting tour stop locations based on strictly population or on the size of the disc golf community alone? What do you think?
It is a great question because, you know, we had a tournament up in GMC up in the middle of nowhere up, I believe it's in Vermont. And I was just questioning, like, this course is incredible. And I said something, I think in my vlog about if this course was able to get picked up and put into like outside of Chicago by 20 minutes or outside of New York or outside of Atlanta, it would be an incredible tournament because it's just in an area that's so hard to get to. I think that is something that the Disc Golf Pro Tour needs to look at. Disc golf is still a very small niche sport. They should be going to areas that have big, like Charlotte, have big disc golf communities. And they should also be going to areas that just have big populations that they can market to and potentially turn into like almost, I view it as almost like a AAA baseball game where you go out as a family because it's a fun event to go out to. I think if they started marketing it that way, you could get maybe new people to go out if it is a fun thing to do that week in your town.
Yeah, I can see that. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Brodie on we need to be looking at where are the people and not where are the best courses in the long run. I think where the best courses is a really important thing to look at, but I think that we need to be in the process of developing some really nice courses in the big population centers. I mean, you look at any big population center on UDisc, there are some good courses, but having traveled the country for the past 18 months, and a lot of that's been playing disc golf, there are a couple championship good level courses, maybe every like 5 or 6 big cities. And so we need to build some infrastructure and have either the PDGA create a team who's looking at investing in different places, or the Pro Tour looking at investing in different population centers, because that's a really good way to grow the sport by having this big population of people who some would be interested in disc golf because there are people interested in disc golf essentially everywhere who would be able to bring some of their friends who aren't, because there's this big thing that is one of 15 or 20 events every year that happens that is brought to a big population center. So I definitely think that we need to be looking at those bigger places to bring the Pro Tour.
Yeah, I agree. I think you just got to go for the population center. You're going to almost always see the correlation between a decent sized disc golf community and a big population area. And I think the Pro Tour is kind of moving in that direction. We see the Open at Austin. They're kind of moving that event. And I hope they continue to do that. And I'd also, I like you mentioned, Anthony, I like the idea of the PDGA getting behind some of that infrastructure and investing in that as well. On to our last subject, Anthony, you can lead off for us. This is something that I think is kind of a relevant question as our tour continues to progress in talent being pumped in, and you've got a lot of players who've been on tour for a long time. So my question is, what touring player, MPO or FPO, will begin their decline this season? Anthony, who do you think?
Yeah, I want to start off by saying that one thing that will never have a decline is the Mighty Ducks. So other than that, I do think that
okay.
Yeah, of course, it's got to bring that back up. But I think that one touring player who, I hate to say it because I love her so much, she's one of the most fun FPO players to watch. I think Owen Scoggins could potentially be seeing the start of the decline of her FPO run. She's already been crushing it in FP40. I don't think she'll be done with disc golf. I don't think that she'll even be done playing in FPO. But to have finished, and I mean, she's captaining an all-star team, to be at that level after not winning in events. Also, courses are getting longer, more talent and more parity is coming to the FPO field, and she is 42 or is turning 42 this year. So she's getting up there in age and she needs to add some distance, and I'm sure that she'll try and I'm sure that she'll do well at that. But I think that we could potentially start to see parity catching up to Own and not having the physical ability to stay at that top level like she needs to as she gets older and as the tour catches up.
Yeah, I think Own right now definitely thrives on the fundamental part of the game, putting, keeping the disc in the fairway. But all right, Brodie, go for it.
Take my points. I have a chance here. He just picked the captain of an all-star. Someone that you go to most disc golfers, they have no idea who Owen Scoggins was until last year, where she popped off at a bunch of tournaments. I have a chance in this. Owen Scoggins is a terrible answer. I don't think Owen Scoggins is going anywhere. There's specific courses on tour that owned her playing style gives her a chance to win and put herself in condition. She's not going anywhere. She's not going to go out and try to win Las Vegas Challenge. But there's specific wooded courses that she can compete in. She's got a good forehand. She's got a good backhand. She's one of the best putters on tour. She's got a good scramble game. Not Owen Scoggins. The answer here is Kale LaVisca. Kale LaVisca went out and played Goat Hill. Did you know that? No, you didn't, because he played an MP40. That's why. The reason why Kale LaVisca is on this list is I think he's making a big shift away from playing on the tour and actually playing in MP40. Sometimes you already see him looking at his tournament and not playing in his tournament up there. He's making a shift, and I think it's a good shift for him at this point. He's still one of the top, I would say, wooded course players on tour. His backhand, super buttery smooth. But I would say you would see the decline in him because he's simply just not going to be playing in events this year.
But
Well,
don't you have to be close to the peak in order to be declining rapidly?
Here's my
Well, no,
my
what are
only.
you talking about? We be close to the peak. No, you just have to decline. Owen Scoggins is not declining. She's going
I
up.
said,
She's
listen,
going up.
the issue is, I did say a player beginning their decline.
Begin their decline.
And
I'm not saying it's happening.
And I think Kale begun his decline a few years ago.
Oh, really? Look up how he did in Waco.
What, as one event?
He was in contention. I'm just saying he's still in contention at certain courses.
Right, but he was a top player in the world. So I'm just saying I think he's already begun it. If you would have had a better player, I think I would have let you catch up to Anthony.
Oh, you want me to just throw someone under the bus? Okay.
Yeah.
That's my bad. I should have
That's the point of the question. It's not an easy question.
Yeah.
Paige Pierce is
a bad pick. Yeah, no, she's a bad pick.
Nope.
You think so? I mean, hey, I don't. Yeah, I'm not. Listen, the thing about Owen Scoggins is Brodie's right because of her game.
You want to give him the victory at the Owen Scoggins? That's fine. I'll take it.
I just didn't like the kill of Visca either. I was prepared to let you get back into that.
Which one was better?
I can't even decide, honestly. I can't even decide. Maybe Kale was a little better, but Anthony had a lead, and leads pay.
I mean,
what's the best answer, though?
That's a tough question.
That's not an easy question.
No,
what's the best answer?
For someone that's actually touring, that's a tough question. For me to be like, oh yeah, this person's gonna be terrible this year.
It's not an easy question. I don't know if there was a certain answer I'm looking for, but I think that Owen is somebody, I think, because Owen's game does not rely on anything related to her age. And she is so effective on tour right now. And I don't think the game is catching up that quickly in FPO.
All right, you know what? Myself. Boom. There you go. The decline of Brodie himself is going to be happening in 20. That's the answer you wanted.
Are you going to throw this here just to win the question?
Everyone at home was saying it. That's what everyone wanted to hear. You got it. There you go.
You're on the incline. All right. That's enough of that. Oh Anthony is our winner. You had a great show, Anthony. You take the W. Anything you got to say for your victory lap?
I mean, just read a couple of words in the questions. Begin is an important one. But, yeah, I definitely think that you could have called me on that last question. I'm going to be honest, I prepared that like 5 minutes before, and I was like, what's a good answer? There's no good answers. That's a hard one to get, but it was a pleasure being with all you guys. I'm surprised I squeaked it out, but thank you guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching today's show. Pretty close show. Very, very exciting show. Very turbulent towards the end there. If you are watching the show today and you're like, hey, I could do that. I could get in the rapid fire round with Brodie and give a better answer. Then you should go ahead and reach out to us. We'd love to have you audition and maybe get you on the show sometime. Other than that, we will see you next week with another episode.